America, we got to get back to doing what's expected of us as free citizens in this democracy. That means being tolerant, being respectful, staying informed, and being engaged. I'm former Congressman Joe Walsh. Follow me here and join the millions of Americans who are renewing their social contract with each other. The social contract, it's on us. Yeah, as this week comes to a close, Democrats had a good night a few nights ago. And hopefully, the repudiation Tuesday night of Donald Trump portends a blue tsunami in the midterms in 2026. And hopefully, the Democrats take back the House and take back the Senate and do what they need to do to hold this president and his people accountable, to actually investigate and conduct overreach and all the rest. Let's hope, right? Let's hope, based on what happened this week, that next year is a good election year for the Democrats. Let's hope for that. Let's work for that. Let's hope and work for the fact that we'll have midterms. Let's do everything we can to make sure we have midterms elections in 2026. Let's do everything we can to try to stop Trump and Republicans from cheating and screwing and messing with the midterms in 2026. And if we can, and if we do, let's hope and let's believe that we will have a really good election year in 2026. But my God, the damage that's been done. My God, the damage that this president and this administration and the Republican Party and Elon Musk have already caused just these past 10 months, the damage that's been done. I hope you realize that if Democrats take back power in 26 and maybe even 2028, a lot of this damage can never and will never be undone. The death and destruction in this country and around the world because of what Trump has done. I want you to understand that so much of it can never be fixed and will never be repaired. And we're only 10 months in. We're only 10 months in. Got another 3+ years of this madman in the White House. Let's cut right to the chase. Elon Musk and Marco Rubio and Donald Trump, as of November 5th, Musk, Rubio, and Trump have killed hundreds of thousands of people around the world. The vast majority of those killed are children. I want to be really clear in what I just said, and I want you to understand what I just said. Elon Musk, Marco Rubio, and Donald Trump, in just the past almost 10 months, have killed, by conservative estimates, 600,000 people around the world. 2/3 of those 600,000 people around the world are children. Musk, Rubio, and Trump, because of what they've done, over 400,000 children around the world are dead. It's just one example of the damage, of the death and destruction that has come the world's way because of Donald Trump. Just one example, one concrete example. Because of the actions of Elon Musk, Marco Rubio, and Donald Trump in this one instance, over 400,000 children around the world are dead. Now, you can't get that back. You can't walk them back. That is not damage you can undo. Yeah, I'm talking about the dismantling of USAID. An amazing piece this week in the New Yorker. We have a horrible habit, right? We all do as a people. We move on. We move on to the next thing. We move on to the next outrage. We move on to the next controversy. We move on to the next stupid, dishonest thing, the next lie of Trump's. We move on. We move on. We move on. We shouldn't always do that, right? We need to reflect more on what's been done. We should not so quickly move on to the next outrageous thing. USAID has been dismantled. That U.S. government agency, which has saved more lives, that 60-year U.S. agency that has saved more lives per dollar than any other federal government agency, is gone, dismantled. And yeah, Trump didn't have the authority to dismantle or get rid of it. He did it, though. But because of that, as I come to you this morning, because of that, because of Trump and Musk and Rubio dismantling this U.S. agency, by the most accurate estimates out there right now, some 600,000 people are dead. Great piece in the New Yorker this week. Great documentary out there called Rovina's Choice, which walks through specific examples of, in certain countries, Kenya and other countries around the world, certain examples of all the good that USAID did and all of it that evaporated. I mean, disappeared once Trump was sworn in. But understand, right? Let's pull ourselves out of the politics of this week and who's running where. And now the Democrats think they might be able to maybe even take back the Senate, and maybe they're going to put more money into this race and that. And pull yourself out of all of that for a moment and reflect upon something a hell of a lot more important. One of the most effective, efficient, valuable U.S. federal government agencies, maybe the best example of America's soft power around the world for the past 60 years. In a matter of months, Musk and Rubio and Trump got rid of it. USAID. And elections have consequences, because Trump winning, putting those people in charge, Musk, Rubio, and Trump, USAID gone, 600,000 people by most estimates, 400,000 children are gone as well. And that number will dramatically go up. Within hours of Trump being sworn in, all foreign assistance, all U.S. foreign assistance was paused. Every USAID program was suspended. Within hours of Trump being sworn in, USAID staff began to not get paid. Delivery services stopped. Food and medicines were told to stay in the warehouses and on the shelves and would begin to go bad. This all happened within hours of Donald Trump being sworn in, this is just, by the way, I'm just talking about what they did to USAID. This was all done without any warning. There were some suspicions, right, that Musk and Doge and Rubio and Trump and they were going to go after USAID and a bunch of government agencies. But USAID has been around for 60 years, had done so much good. Marco Rubio, you will recall, was its biggest advocate. Little Marco. I don't want history to ever forget little Marco. Little Marco, just 3 years ago, went to Biden, then President Biden, Senator Rubio did, demanding that USAID's budget increase. Marco Rubio, it's fascinating when we think about all the Republicans who sold their soul, all the visible examples of Republicans, my former colleagues, who sold their soul to Donald Trump. None is more just acute than Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio, before he became Trump's Secretary of State, was probably USAID's biggest advocate. Went to the White House 3 years ago, demanded President Biden increase USAID's budget. And I think because of that, when Rubio became Secretary of State, a lot of people thought, all right, there are going to be some cuts here and there. USAID could maybe be a little more efficient here and there. But Marco Rubio, man, Secretary of State, he's their biggest booster. He's USAID's biggest booster. Without any warning. Remember the days? Remember Elon and the sledgehammer? Elon and what was it? The blowtorch. No, it wasn't a blowtorch. What was it? What was that? You know what I mean. Elon, man, Elon and Doge, right? Just taking a I'll say blowtorch, taking a sledgehammer, right, to the federal budget. And they went after USAID at the jump. They went after what they thought was easy pickings at the jump. Foreign aid, money that doesn't even go to the American people, money that just goes to help keep kids hungry around the world and keep kids from getting the HIV around the world and helping pregnant women deliver babies around the world. All the rest, man, all the lives that have been saved around the world, that's not here in America. So we can go after USAID. Musk and Rubio decided. So within hours, without any warning, everything USAID did was paused or suspended. Staff began to not get paid. Services were stopped. And the food and the medicine that went around the world to keep kids eating, keep them healthy, keep them alive, stayed in the warehouses. Within weeks of Trump being sworn in those heady days, man, Elon Musk was jazzed, man, with what he was doing to USAID with Marco Rubio. Donald Trump's president. He's ultimately responsible, right? Rubio and Musk and Doge, man, within weeks, the entire USAID staff was purged. 4/5 of USAID's contracts were terminated. All of USAID's funds were impounded. The agency was effectively dismantled. This 60-year American federal agency that, again, has saved more lives per dollar than any other United States federal government agency in history was gone. Billions of dollars worth of food and medicines gone bad, sitting on shelves in warehouses, all within weeks, without any warning. And Congress And the Supreme Court did nothing. I know January, February, March, April feel like 10 years ago. This all went on in January, February, March, April. And this is, again, is just one example of the death and destruction, the damage that Donald Trump caused. This is just one example. But within weeks, without any warning, USAID was dismantled. Didn't have the authority to do it, but he did it. Congress and the Supreme Court did nothing. Brooke Nichols at Boston University, she's an epidemiologist and a mathematician. She's been tracking the impact. She's at Boston University. She's been tracking the impact of the dismantling of USAID in people's lives and in deaths. What she and others have called public man-made death. Let me be clear. When I say that Elon Musk and Marco Rubio and Donald Trump killed, as of early November, over 400,000 children around the world, I mean, they killed over 400, at least, thousand children around the world as of early November. Brooke Nichols, Boston U, conservatively tracking this stuff using conservative estimates on the dollar for dollar impact, the loss of programs, the loss of dollars, the loss of services, the loss of food, the loss of medicines, arrived at that figure as of November 5th. 600,000 people around the world have died. 2/3 of those deaths, children. Importantly, she notes that this death toll is going to grow and grow astronomically because HIV, one example, HIV or tuberculosis, when it goes untested, unprevented, untreated, which it began to do within hours and then weeks after Trump was sworn in. Remember, all services cut off, all staff purged. So within weeks of Trump getting sworn in, no more HIV testing around the world, no more tuberculosis testing or prevention or treatment around the world. And as Brooke Nichols at Boston U says, when HIV and tuberculosis, just two examples, when they go untested, unprevented, and untreated, it can take months or years before a person dies. Same thing goes for deaths from vaccines for preventable illnesses. So all of USAID's vaccine programs around the world ended. All of USAID's HIV prevention programs around the world ended. Tuberculosis, go down the line. It will take months. It could and will take months and sometimes years for people around the world to die because of this. So that 600,000 people around the world dead because of Musk, Rubio, and Trump, 400,000 people around the world dead, 400,000 children, 400,000 children around the world dead because of Musk and Rubio and Trump. We are primarily talking about people and children who went hungry and starved and died. That makes up most of those numbers. The 600,000 number, man, that's going to leapfrog once children and adults around the world die every day for the next number of months of AIDS and tuberculosis and any other preventable illness that a vaccine would have kept them alive from. I could spend hours on this. It just hit me this Friday as we end a good week politically in America. The resistance punched back in America. The opposition to that very bad man in the White House stood up in America this week. I just think we do great harm when we don't really think about and reflect upon the damage this man has done, the damage this man and his party have done, the damage that this man and his enablers have done. I don't, and I'm as guilty of this as anybody, getting caught up in the politics of the moment. And the Trump said what? Trump did what every day? We all get caught up in that. I just thought this Friday, after I read this amazing piece in the New Yorker, I recommend it to you all. Brooke Nichols at Boston University is the standout right now, tracking the deaths, the impact and the deaths around the world because of USAID being dismantled. And it just struck me that we all, as the week closes, need to understand and face the real impact of the death and destruction that Donald Trump is responsible for. And I say Donald Trump because he's president. When we talk about USAID, based on all of the reporting, based on all of the facts, this was driven by Elon Musk and Marco Rubio. Elon Musk and Marco Rubio, in a nanosecond, got rid of America's most valuable program out there around the world when it comes to America's soft power, showing the goodness and the efficacy and the decency of America, keeping children alive, keeping children healthy. And Rubio and Musk, within hours and days and weeks, got rid of this 60-year agency, which again, broken record that I am, more than any other United States government agency has saved more lives per dollar. And under Trump, it's gone in a nanosecond. And I think you need to know, I think we need to always know and remind ourselves of the impact, because there's impact. 600,000 people died as of early November because of what they did. Because of them, in the dead of night, shutting down this government agency. 600,000 people are dead around the world, 400,000 of them children. Those numbers are going to skyrocket in the next months and years, and Musk and Rubio and Trump are directly responsible for it. It matters. Elections have consequences. It matters. Madness matters. Chaos matters. Indifference matters. Cruelty matters. And you can't get these 400,000 children who are now dead. Go ahead, put the Democrats in charge of the House and the Senate, and I want that to happen. Go ahead, let's make sure we put a Democrat in the White House in 2028, and I want that to happen. But if all of that happens politically in America, the 400,000 children now dead because of Musk and Rubio and Trump, they ain't coming back. And when you listen to my podcast in February, a couple months down the road, I'm going to get in front of you and I'm going to say 1.3 million people around the world are dead just based on what Musk, Rubio, and Trump did to USAID. I'm going to come to you in February on my show in February, and I'm going to say Musk, Rubio, and Trump have killed 1.3 million people around the world, 900,000 of those children. because that number's going up. It matters. And we have to face it. And shame on us. I'm beyond saying shame on Musk and Rubio and Trump. Shame on us as a nation. Look, shame on Congress, because this all happened, right, within hours and days and weeks. Congress did nothing. The courts did nothing. Shame on them, but shame on us for putting this madman back in the White House. Hey, a couple other quickies, Keith, and I promise they'll be quickies. We're what? Again, from my mountaintop, my former political party is a real threat to democracy. Oh, Joe, what do you mean? What do you mean? I'm tired of saying what I mean. I'm just going to give you examples. My former party, the Republican Party, is a threat to democracy. A woman was elected congresswoman in Arizona some 6 weeks ago. She is still not serving as a congresswoman. She has not been sworn in. So 6 weeks later, those 800,000 Americans who live in that congressional district in Arizona, they don't have representation. Still, Mike Johnson and the Republicans have still not sworn her in. That is a direct shot at democracy. That's not the only one. Did you know? Again, we forgot about this. 8 months ago, a Democratic congressman in Texas died while in office, Sylvester Turner. Sylvester Turner died in office 8 months ago in Texas. This past Tuesday, 3 days ago, 2 Democrats advanced to a runoff election to be the new congressperson from that district in Texas. 8 months ago, and we still don't have a congressperson representing those 800,000 people in that congressional district in Texas. Well, who's the governor of Texas? Oh, yeah, Greg Abbott, another Republican. So a Democratic congressman dies 8 months ago. Abbott drags his feet because in Texas, the governor of the state sets the dates for the elections and any special elections and any runoffs. So Abbott dragged his feet on the special election that just happened this past Tuesday. And now there's got to be a runoff between these 2 Democrats to replace the congressman who died. When is that runoff election, you ask? I'm glad you asked. Greg Abbott hasn't said it yet. Greg Abbott has not set the runoff election yet to give those 800,000 Texans in that congressional district representation. Abbott hasn't said it yet. He's doing the same thing Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, is doing with that congresswoman in Arizona. So we actually have 2 Democratic seats without representation. So that's 2 Democratic votes in the House of Representatives because the Republican Speaker of the House ain't letting it happen. And the Republican governor of Texas ain't letting it happen. Direct shots at attacks on democracy. Don't tell me my former political party is not a threat to democracy. Greg Abbott hasn't even set a date for the runoff. And we're 8 months removed from the death of that congresswoman. He ain't in no hurry. Final thing this Friday. Nancy Pelosi announced yesterday she will not run for re-election. 83-year-old Nancy Pelosi. Good. Too old. She's been there too long. Her day has passed. It's past time. I'm glad that Nancy Pelosi is not and came out and said she's not running for re-election. Donald Donald Trump was asked about Nancy Pelosi yesterday. I don't know, Keith, do we have that? Trump was asked about Pelosi and deciding not to run again. And he went off on Nancy Pelosi. He said, she's evil, she's corrupt, she's a horrible person, she was mean to me. I'm glad she's not running again. She's evil. Trump went off on Nancy Pelosi yesterday, called her evil. Now, Donald Trump is the utter worst of us, right? He's the absolute worst of us. No matter what you might think politically of Nancy Pelosi, to call your political opponent evil, that's a horrible thing to do, but that's Trump. But it got me thinking when I went to Congress 12 some years ago, I went there and I went after Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi was my political enemy. I'm sure I said horrible things back in the day about Nancy Pelosi. I was Mr. Tea Party. I was going after any Republican and Democrat who got in my way. Nancy Pelosi was the poster child, one of the poster childs of Obamacare and big government back then. So I have no doubt that I went over the line and said things about Nancy Pelosi back then that I regret. I don't think I ever called Nancy Pelosi evil. That's Trump. He's a special kind of bad. But when I went to Washington, Nancy Pelosi was my political opponent. The old Joe Walsh then considered her to be my political enemy. And then a funny thing happened. I grew up, I evolved, and I began to pay attention to Nancy Pelosi over the years, and I began to grow enormous respect for her. She was a giant. In Trump's first term, no one, Republican or Democrat, stood up to Trump more than Nancy Pelosi did. No one. She was the best defender of democracy against Donald Trump in his first term that we've had. I grew to respect the hell out of Nancy Pelosi. I grew to like her, even if and when I disagreed with her on issues. So, the new Joe Walsh of the past 6 to 7 years, when I find out that Nancy Pelosi's not run for re-election, my thought is, lady, well done. You are a giant. You are a legislative giant. Madam Speaker, job well done. You may go down in history as the best and most consequential House Speaker in American history. Nothing but respect for Nancy Pelosi, even when I disagreed with her on any issues. And I only bring this up just to look at Trump yesterday. Pelosi's evil. Trump's still the worst of us. It's important for people, public people like me, to acknowledge when we've improved, when we've evolved, when we've changed. And I did profoundly. 6, 7, 8 years ago, I said, stop. I don't want to be a divisive political asshole anymore. And Nancy Pelosi was just one of the Democratic politicians that I began to really pay attention to and really began to find common ground with and really gained a great appreciation for. And in this world we live in where, you got to be super partisan, man. No, your team, and there ain't nothing in between. And everything on your team is good and everything on the other team is bad. I stopped being that way a long time ago. And I can disagree now, right? As I have for a while now, disagree with Nancy Pelosi on a number of issues, but have enormous respect for her and appreciation for what she's done. It was reminded, and I'm closing right now, Keith, at one of, I'm forgetting the year, George W. Bush's, maybe his first State of the Union. George W. Bush, remember this? Politics from another time, pre-Trump, right? Pre everybody at each other's throats. I remember George W. Bush during the State of the Union, at the beginning of his State of the Union, said sort of the following: Everybody, I'm coming to you, and I am going to say the following words that no other American president in history has ever said. Madam Speaker. And the whole chamber went crazy. Republican and Democrat cheered and applauded. Biden's George W. Bush's graciousness and decency, publicly acknowledging how proud George W. Bush was to be able to introduce the first female Speaker of the House, the first woman Speaker, Madam Speaker. And both parties joined hands, recognized the history of that moment, and applauded. A different time in America. Such a different time in America. Unlike this time in America, when the current president is asked about the first female speaker, House Speaker in American history, and the current American president says, she's evil. She's bad. She's evil. Go away. Screw her. I could care less. There was a time when our politicians, our political leaders, did not always act in such an ugly, divisive, and cruel manner, most emphatically exemplified by Donald Trump. Nancy Pelosi helped me change, helped open my eyes up to listening to the other side, trying to find common ground. Even if you disagree, that doesn't mean that's a bad person. Nancy Pelosi, over my last public career, helped me get there, and I thank her for that. But most importantly, I thank her for being a historical figure in this great, good, and decent country. Madam Speaker, you did well. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. By the way, subscribe to my Substack if you'd like, socialcontractwithjoewalsh.substack.com. socialcontractwithjoewalsh.substack.com. Your subscription keeps me going, keeps me alive, keeps me doing what I'm doing. So it's always welcome. You want to send me an email about anything, do the social contract with Joe Walsh at gmail.com. That's all one word too. The social contract with Joe Walsh at gmail.com. Hey, have a really, really good weekend. Check out that piece in the New Yorker on the dismantling of USAID and what it's done. Thanks, everybody. Be brave.
Thank you for listening. Remember to listen, share, and follow The Social Contract with Joe Walsh on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere great podcasts are found. And be sure to leave a 5-star review. This has been The Social Contract with Joe Walsh.